The odds don't like this prediction, and that is I think Michigan State goes 7-5. So here are 7 reasonable reasons why I think MSU can get to that number. And the first one, not everyone's going to agree with.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in and starting your week with us here at Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white right here in the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Matt Sheehan. Hey, please rate, review, subscribe, comment below your biggest reason Michigan State cannot just go bowling and get to 6 wins, but hey, that additional 7th win. And then, hey, we're going to get to a mailbag question. We're going to talk about the new concession stand outfitter in Spartan Stadium. That's right, it is popping here in July in East Lansing. But guys, let's have a conversation here because I get it. If you're a rival fan, you're probably already laughing. Oh, this bozo is getting all riled up at a 7-5 record. Oh, that poor Sparty. Now, look, I know it's not great shakes, but hey, this is the rebuild. And I know that, you can have overnight instant successes like Kurt Cignetti down in Indiana. The way that Jonathan Smith does it, like he's shown at Oregon State, it is a walk before you can run sort of rebuild. There's many reasons to think that Michigan State can take a step forward, can go bowling, can go 7-5, even if the odds don't agree with us. And when I say that, I go to one of my favorite websites, my favorite analytical websites. When it comes to predicting what will happen this season, it's kfordrankings.com. He gives our Michigan State Spartans a 12% shot of getting 7 wins. So that's right. If you want a chip on the shoulder, we'll look no further than all the computers and the numbers and the nerds out there, even though I really do love Kelly Ford. I'm sorry if he takes offense to the nerd quip. But guys, even Vegas is telling you, the over-under's 5.5. 7's going to be tough. I know the schedule is a little easier than last year, but it's still a top 20 hardest schedule in the country. So why on earth do I think 7-5 is down the pike this season? Is it because I just go to bed every night and waking up every morning thinking of Michigan State like a full-blown lunatic? That's only part of it. But there are actual reasons I think Michigan State can get to 7-5 this fall. And the first reason, guys, that's a drum roll. That's right. It's Aidan Chiles. And I know not everyone's going to agree with that. I know a lot of people completely checked out of the Aidan Chiles fan club halfway through last season when he was just throwing interceptions left, right, down the middle, and coughing up the ball whenever he wasn't throwing an interception. But what I saw after halfway through the season was progress, tightening up those turnovers. Did it come at the expense of maybe being a little too tight with the ball? Yes. And that's what's going to happen when you're a first-year starter, especially as dynamic as you are of a playmaker. He got himself into a lot of trouble, namely that Boston College game, thinking that he can extend every play and just go for that Madden rookie-level 65-yard bomb through traffic, and oh my God, it got intercepted. He knows he has those gifts. He had to tame them, so it's a fine line to walk, but can he learn to, yes, have your playmaking ability, but also be just a little bit tighter with the football? Way easier said than done. And that's not the only issue Aidan Chiles had. Of course, he did have a little bit of accuracy issues here and there, but I believe that we saw enough progress throughout the end of last season, okay? Especially, guys, all things considered, yes, we pointed out some things that, hey, he didn't do right. There were some things that he couldn't really control, like getting blasted by pass rushers pretty much every second snap, There were pass rushers late in the season that were getting to him faster than the ball was on some of these snaps. It was not great shakes for Aidan Chiles. But here's why I think that he could do it. We obviously have seen the big arm. We've seen the Sunday throws. Yes, spliced together with some rookie mistakes, but hey, this is what you could expect out of a second-year starter, hopefully. Tightening up that while still having the raw athleticism of the arm and also the legs, guys. Now, we got some stats here, courtesy of Pro Football Focus, that really highlight how great of a runner that he was as a quarterback. He had 30 missed tackles forced on 78 attempts last year. That is 16th best amongst all quarterbacks last season, okay? He is the only guy in the top 20 that had less than 100 designed runs. So everyone else that was above him, well, they were just running a lot more. Now, this takes away all the scrambles. This was just certified design runs, which they started to implement later in the season. both to probably preserve his confidence and his health early on last year. I expect them to deploy him on more quarterback design runs, okay? And he is also, guys, when he was getting hit, which was still often, 27th in the nation amongst quarterbacks at getting yards after contact, about 3.5 yards per carry after contact. Not too shabby. And here's something that I really like about Aidan Chiles too, guys, is that he returns for another year here as the starter at Michigan State. Did you know, this is a fun fact, I actually learned this today when I was digging around, of Michigan State's 12 opponents, 9 of them are going to be breaking in a new starting quarterback to their school. Now, that's not to say they're all first-year starters just overall, like Nico Yamayalava, whatever. Butcher that name every time, but he started at Tennessee, obviously, right, guys? Fernando Mendoza, okay, he started at Cal. He'll be Indiana's starting quarterback. But still, 9 guys are either fresh to the college game, fresh to the starting game, or new with their coordinator, whereas Aidan Chiles, we're going to get to it more in a little bit here, but bolstered by a good coaching staff that he is comfortable with. So, look, we talked about his arm. We talked about his legs. Now, here's reason number 2 why you think Michigan State can make a 7-5 record here is he can't be the only one running the ball, right? I mean, and hey, he might not even have to be the only guy running the ball, making action with his legs, because there is substantial reason to believe that this offensive line can be better. I am just horrible at towing the line of getting excited for like the upteenth year in a row of, hey, an improved offensive line, when it really hasn't seemed like that since, oh God, I don't even know what year. It's been a while here in East Lansing. But guys, yes, they have lost Luke Newman. They lost Tanner Miller, 2 really solid offensive linemen, but they fill it with Matt Golbin, okay, one of the best run-blocking interior offensive linemen that you could have found in the transfer portal. You get another year of Stanton Ramel. You invested heavily in Montana State transfer Connor Moore. You return all these other interior guys. There is reason to believe, even before we start talking about the guys carrying the ball, that this offensive line can get a push, so to speak, open up some lanes, not have your guys get smoked behind the line of scrimmage. Well, more often than not in a few games last year. I think I counted 3 or 4 games last year where the yards after contact was higher than the yards per carry for our running backs. It was tough shakes last season for running the ball, guys. And plus, hey, you know what? The running back gamble, which we will talk about here in a mailbag question later this episode, is one thing. The staff obviously believes that these are the good stable of running backs that you can have going into a season. But even outside of them, we're talking Christian McCray, wide receiver transfer out of Kent State. Very speedy guy. A speedy wide receiver is what the staff didn't have last year at Michigan State, that they always had a surplus of when they were doing damage down at Oregon State. So hopefully that helps, along with Omari Kelly. And guys, speaking of receivers, that's your third reason you could have optimism going into this year, is the receivers. And I know that every single name in this room outside of Nick Marsh is going to be a total stranger to anyone that wasn't paying attention in the offseason. But let's just start talking about that guy that, hey, everyone does know. The guy that Michigan State heavily invested in, whether it is obviously the development of Courtney Hawkins, selling him to the program, or financially too. He also didn't stick around East Lansing just because he loves crunchies so much, okay? Just because he loves the Panda Express in the International Center oh so dearly. Now, I think it took some resources to keep Nick Marsh around, and that was a really good, if not the best storyline Michigan State had this offseason, is keeping this guy who's not even arguably one of the best freshman receivers in the nation, might have been the 3rd best freshman receiver behind Jeremiah Smith of Ohio State, Ryan Williams of Alabama, and then right there in the 3rd slot, Nick Marsh. Yeah, you take that all day, every day. You saw what he could do against Maryland last year. He was just a baby in that game. And then later on, when it already seemed that he was a sophomore or a junior, absolutely giving Iowa the work. Guys, there's more of that to come with Nick Marsh. Plus around him, we talked about more speed with Christian McCray. They added Omari Kelly, an all-conference USA first-team player, 900 receiving yards. This is one of the guys that when I've been picking and prodding, seeing who knows anything going on inside of spring ball in the program, it is Omari Kelly's name that always keeps popping up. Now, you could take that as gospel. You could take it with a grain of salt and say, oh, well, that's going to be our newest Davion Prim, the guy that was basically handed a Heisman by the staff 2 years ago and then never even saw the field in the fall. But I think with his body of work at a lower level at Middle Tennessee State, by way of Auburn, by the way, so he did start at a Power 4 school, there is reason to believe that, hey, there is a really solid 2 to the 1 that is Nick Marsh and everyone outside around him. I think they can get it done, guys. Okay, now that's only 4 reasons. All on the offensive side of the ball here. Now we're going to switch it up here, give you a few more reasons to believe in 7-5. But first, I need to talk everyone's ears off about the Gametime app, the greatest ticketing app out there. And we have all been there, guys. Logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you are dying to see. Now, live music should be about making memories, especially with the summer outdoor concerts, guys. Not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. And speaking of concerts, guys, Rufus du Sol coming to Pine Knob in August. Where did I get my tickets? You already know it, Gametime, because they are the best out there. They make it so easy to get concert tickets, sports tickets, whatever it is. And guys, prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. You could save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. And with Gametime, the price you see is the price you pay. There is no shenanigans, no hidden fees with Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. It's lowest tickets. So, my goodness gracious, last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Sorry for that rocky ending Gametime, but hey, great app. Love Gametime. All right, guys, let's get back into it here. Hopefully the start of this segment goes better than how that ad read ended. But, guys, reason number 5, you can believe in a 7-5 record. Yeah, not shooting for the moon. But before you can run to the college football playoff, you got to walk here a little bit. And we've done a lot of crawling the last 3 years. But reason number 5, and this might sound silly, might sound cliche, but I believe that there is something to that. It is just continuity with what we saw from last year. Guys, you really didn't lose a lot of starters in the transfer portal last offseason. Now, you didn't have a completely clean slate. Yes, you did lose Chuck Brantley. And while that always seemed like an inevitability because it was his 17th trip into the transfer portal, still a blow. Outside of that, though, Jalen Thompson, the defensive back, yes, he wants to go closer to home. Outside of that, are there any transfers that you really lost? And even outside just, the personnel on the roster, how about the coaching staff? And I truly do believe that there is something to that, especially on the defensive side of the ball with your defensive coordinator, Joe Rossi. Now, back when he was at Minnesota for all his seasons, he took over middle of the season in 2018, instant turnaround with that defense. And in the second year, his full year, all he did was just have the number 10 ranked defense in the entire nation. I mean, this is what can happen with a full season and an off season with players and also players that now more outfit your system. This is what happens because, hey, this is what the Joe Rossi system needed a little bit more of. Athletic linebackers. And I know that sounds, pretty basic. Hey, shouldn't all staffs and teams have some sort of semblance of speed in their linebacker room? That wasn't always really the case last year, whether that be just recruiting or lack thereof recruiting from the previous staff. Hey, whatever it is, not a lot of speed or athleticism with the linebackers. And it wasn't even who they got this offseason, but more so who they targeted last offseason in the transfer portal or in the recruiting ranks, guys like Brady Pretzloff, of course, but also with the transfers, Marcellus Pulliam, Samaj Bridgman. These are guys that add athleticism to the defense. And also, one thing that we've sounded like a broken wind-up toy on this offseason when talking about transfer additions on defense is the secondary gets guys that are incredibly versatile, okay? They could play safety as easily as they could play nickel, as easily as they could play cornerback. They got, 57 defensive secondary transfers in this offseason? They're all interworking pieces with one another. And in the Joe Rossi system, a guy that has proven that he can get it done as he had 3 top 10 defenses in his time at Minnesota. I think one full season and then an offseason can only bode well for Michigan State. Again, a Michigan State team that is going to face 9 quarterbacks that are new starters at their school. So there could be something to that. I certainly think there is. And if you don't agree, hey, comment below on YouTube or shoot me a message at lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Also, it's not just the defense. It is the offense. You get continuity with Brian Lindgren, your offensive coordinator. But this is where, I'm going to start to cheat because this isn't continuity at all. He wasn't on the staff last year, but more so continuity in the life of one Aidan Chiles is they brought in the quarterbacks coach that he is familiar with from Oregon State, John Boyer. because there's no more limits on coaches that you could have in college football. They bring him in. Aidan Chiles had a very powerful quote this offseason saying it's one of the greatest things that's happened in his life, bringing in John Boyer. So, hey, does this give a little bit of comfortability for Brian Lindgren that he can open up the offense a little more, open up his time for other parts of the offense? So it's only going to help him as much as it's going to help Aidan Chiles. Hopefully, with all that cohesion, you're going to get somewhere with this continuity. Now, guys, this would not be a Big Ten podcast without me saying the sixth reason you could believe in 7-5. Now, you can go ahead and laugh. I don't care. I don't think this is funny at all, actually. This is all business. Punting. It's punting. How many times have we seen Michigan State games? Not even in the last 5 years, 10 years. How about ever since the birth of football in East Lansing? How many times have we seen games where, it does really come down to field position, punting, tucking in your opponents nice and comfortably inside the 5-yard line? Well, how about Ryan Eckley, who is maybe not even arguably the best punter in the nation going into this year? Because our guy was banging the ball at 48 yards per punt last season. That's the highest amongst anyone that is returning to the college game this season. He's got an iron boot. And my God, I couldn't have been more wrong about Ryan Eckley. It's not that I thought that he was going to be a bum here or anything. But I remember when Bryce Behringer left, I just assumed that, okay, the only way to go is down at the punting position. There's no way it can get better, certainly not, or even as good as Bryce Behringer. And, enter Ryan Eckley, who must be a listener of this podcast and plays it every single day as he's in the weight room or on the practice field because he is sending balls that are picked up by missile detection systems. My goodness gracious, this guy's great. So that's reason number 6. And reason number 7, guys, I will come crawling back to this. We always do. Is the schedule set up for success? You got to get out of the gates hot. You got to build wins as much as it is confidence in your team. This is a schedule where you can do that. It's 3 home games to start the season against 3 beatable opponents. Western Michigan, my God, please win that game. You're favored by 17 points. And then Boston College, revenge game. They've got a lot of missing pieces, especially in the trenches on both sides of the ball from last year. And then Youngstown State, well, you will be favored by about 40,000 points. Can you get off on a 3-0 stretch, get into your next 2 road games with a little bit of confidence, and then whatever happens after that, it's going to come down to attrition, health, which Michigan State has a little bit more depth of this year. But guys, I think the schedule, while not a cakewalk, okay, this isn't going to be an ice cream social, but it is going to be a little better than last season. So there you have it, guys. Those are my 7 reasonable reasons why I think 7-5 can be on the table. Now, join hands with me as we go into the mailbag here, lockedonspartans@gmail.com, because our guy Ryan, who's always delivering great questions to us at, again, lockedonspartans@gmail.com, writes in this. Just wrapped up my first game of college football 26. I had to take it to Jacksonville State, 45-0 to avenge for diving at Connor Cook's knees on the first pass of 2014. God, I wanted to jump out the stadium after that happened. That was a terrible, terrible moment. Turns out he was okay. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. He also writes in, I also got 3 interceptions from Malik Spencer and scored 2 touchdowns with starting running back Elijah Tau-Toliver, which got me to thinking, what can we reasonably expect from those guys this year? I feel like Spencer isn't getting enough preseason love, and I just don't know enough about Tau-Toliver. Thanks as always. I'm going to go up on the difficulty in the game now. So we'll start with Malik Spencer because, yes, 26 games he has played. 17 of those have been starts. Like, this is a name that we certainly know. Why isn't he getting a lot of love this year? Could it be a situation of, well, there was a lot of hype around him last year. Maybe from your favorite podcaster. I talked a lot about him too, but even outside of us, guys, there was reasonable draft chatter about him. Hey, he's going to play himself into the second day here. Or, hey, he's starting the season as like a 4th round, 5th round draft pick. We'll see where it goes from here. But, hey, this is an experienced kid. He's rangy. He can play really strong on defense. Now, what happened to him during the season? Why isn't there so much hype right now? It could be a once bitten, twice shy thing. Or, dare I say, it's kind of the same version or the defensive version of what Jack Velling might be going through right now. Well, yes, Jack Velling's still a good player. He still has a high ceiling. He had a lot of hype going into last year. Didn't really produce at the level that a lot of us expected him at last year. So is it better to just go in with some low expectations? Just hey, whatever you show for me will just be a pleasant surprise. Because I will say this, it wasn't all bad last year. Like in the Oregon game, I thought he looked really great. He was strong in the Michigan game until now there's debate whether he was responsible for this or not, but the double pass that really just put the dagger in our hearts, the most obvious double pass these eyes have ever seen. Now, it was a strong game up until that point. He was laying the wood, hitting tackles, but guys, outside of that, it was a little too inconsistent. Like the Ohio State game was tough, but again, a lot of guys have tough games against Ohio State. But still, that was a really bad one. They were targeting him a whole lot. There was quite a bit of missed tackles, not just in that game, but it was kind of up and down with the missed tackles throughout the entire season. He also let up 70% completion when balls were thrown to him. So, look, we saw his highs. Okay, he can also be very instinctual. Now, it isn't always there, of course, but man, it is kind of a roller coaster. But if you want to be sold on Malik Spencer being a solid player this year, a reliable player that you can count on this defense for, it's his 4th year. He's rangy. You do see glimmers of good instinctual football, but what has to happen? The tackling has to get cleaned up. I think that's first and foremost what has to happen for him really to reach his potential, get back into this draft. You can't have games where you're missing 2-3 tackles by the end of the game, especially when you're playing safety. And sometimes you're the last line of defense, and you're all that we got. After the first and second level, well, the holes got opened up on them, and it's just Malik Spencer back there. So that's it. I'm sold that he can be a solid player. But yeah, just got to tighten it up. I know it's so basic to say, but yeah, just a little too inconsistent last year. Now, the guy that we don't know a lot about, Elijah Tau-Toliver, 6'1", 205-pound running back from Sacramento State. He was a Big Sky honorable mention. This is, I've been saying it all offseason. I think it's a little bit of a gamble here for the staff here because, well, it's not like they had a ton of transfer visitors in there. They pretty much circled their sights on Eli Tau-Toliver. This guy that, again, was an honorable mention player in his conference in FCS football for a position that always seems to be swimming with transfer portal candidates. They were sold that this was the guy. And backing him up are 2 guys that had 7 carries last year. Brandon Tulis, Mekhi Frazier. Okay, one guy played linebacker in high school. Barely even played running back. The other guy was pretty much injured his entire senior season in high school. So, I mean, it is... If running back does not work out this year, I think we're going to be a little out of, well, what the hell was the plan to begin with? An FCS guy and then a guy that didn't even play offense in high school, and then a guy that didn't even play senior in high school. So it's fascinating. Now, here's reason to believe that this could work out. Eli Tau-Toliver, he did have 30 missed tackles forced last year, okay? That was 7th best in the Big Sky. Great. What I do like about him, too, he caught 38 passes, so he has some semblance of competency at catching the ball out of the running back position. That's great, okay? Now, where I'm a little iffy is that he wasn't even in the top 100 amongst FCS running backs at getting yards after contact. And look, if you watched Michigan State last year, you know that the running back got contacted quite a bit, oftentimes even behind the line of scrimmage. So, look, do I think he's better than Nathan Carter? I actually don't. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't think that he's a better player than Nathan Carter. However, could his numbers be better than Nathan Carter's last year? I certainly think so. Now, Nathan Carter last year, 499 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns. We all know the limitations that he had with the offensive line. Was he the perfect player? Am I going to say that he was a second coming of Kenneth Walker if it wasn't for that lousy offensive line? No. I certainly think he was a plus running back in college, just not offered up a lot of help. Like we said earlier this show. Guys, there were 4 games I counted where the yards after contact were higher than the yards per carry, meaning that they were attacked behind the line of scrimmage way too often in a lot of these games. So, do I think that the numbers can get better? What are the expectations? I don't think it's crazy to say. Go back to Nathan Carter 2 years ago, like 800 yards. Now, could you get up to 10 touchdowns through both the air and the ground if you're Eli Tau-Toliver? Well, if you're going to get to 7 wins, then maybe even more. I sure hope that your running back is combining somehow for 10 touchdowns. And I also think it won't be like Nathan Carter last year, who had to split a lot of carries with K'Ron Lynch-Adams, another running back that I think was a plus running back in college. I think that Eli Tau-Toliver, well, it won't be like 2012 Le'Veon Bell, and he's going to get 60 carries per game, and no one's even going to touch the ball outside of him. I do think right now, going into fall camp, things obviously subject to change, I think that he will be the primary running back until someone else shows their hand or he isn't getting the job done. So he will have the opportunity to get better numbers, but what to expect? I hope at least average, because this is going to be really awkward if they do not hit on this running back here. Now, guys, I should have started the show with this. This is the real news right here. There is a new concession stand handler at Spartan Stadium. That's right. It's actually embarrassing. I am very fired up about this. I get excited about anything that goes on in East Lansing, but it is Levy. That's right. Levy Restaurants, Levy. I almost said Levi. Nope, that's the jean company. Levy Restaurants out of Chicago. That is right. They will be taking over the concession stands over at Spartan Stadium, Breslin Center, all that good stuff. So look, it seems like a small move. Like, who could possibly care outside of mentally deranged people like myself? But I actually do think that, like, this is a decent move, as small as it may seem, as insubstantial as it sounds. I mean, it's a good move that you can make in a very short amount of time to improve the stadium experience, because I know you've probably heard it. You've probably even said it. The stadium experience at Spartan Stadium really needs some work. Now, I always say this, I got to add my 2 cents. I think that's a little overblown. I think everyone would have a lot better time at Spartan Stadium if the team actually won. You wouldn't hear about the crumbling and the rust in the beams. You wouldn't hear about the concession stands. You wouldn't hear about the bench seats if this team banged out 9 wins every single season. Like, who would care? But look, everyone's ornery. Everyone's getting upset. So why not complain about every single thing under the sun? But this is actually going to help, guys, because look, this is bullet points. This was from a tweet from Connor Eargood of Detroit News. He's a Michigan State beat reporter. But here's just some little tidbits that Levy will offer here. New chef-crafted Spartan signature dishes in concessions only available on Michigan State game days. Great. Updated concession concepts along fan favorites like melting moments amongst others. So great. Mix it up. You're keeping melting moments, something that all fans just go to the game solely for. I really hope my personal favorite concession item, hot chocolate served at 550 degrees Fahrenheit, still sticks around, but spruce it up. A little bit more than hot dogs, a little bit more than pizza that may have been there since the game the week prior. Who's to say? But this is what I also really like, guys. And again, this is like so just stupid to get excited about, but I actually am. On-the-go markets and mobile stands equipped with self-service technology to increase speed and convenience. Speed and convenience. Now, guys, when you look at me, I don't know what you think of me. The older people probably think I'm some young whippersnapper. Anyone that's in college right now probably thinks I'm just some old weathered man with just a horrendous hairline that no one wants at the spry age of 33 years old. I get it. I don't care what you think of me, but I will tell you what I think of myself on the inside. I'm more of like the conservative, like I hate when things change sort of person when it comes to like things I love, like the stadium experience. I want Spartan Stadium to be the same right now as it was when I was a child, but I got to say, when they say on-the-go markets and the mobile stands with self-service technology, I was a little reluctant on this at Ford Field, which, by the way, Levy, also a partner of Ford Field. You get your beer. You get your popcorn, you get your hot dog, your chips, whatever. You put it on this little tray thing. It takes a snapshot of it, tells you the price. You scan your credit card, you go. The one thing that really chaps my you-know-what at Spartan Stadium or Breslin Center is how long it takes to get through some of these lines. Guys, with these self-service checkouts, you don't even break stride. You don't even break stride with this. You are back to your seat. Let's say you leave your seat on third down or on first down. You are back in your seat before the ball's even punted after a 3-and-out. Like, it is so quick, so convenient. I really do think that's going to be a game changer here. Now, they also go on to say an upscale refresh in premium areas. Doesn't bother me. I am a few tax brackets below any of those seats. With curated menus for each game and modern chef's table presentations, pregame and special event food and beverage pop-ups, from football tailgates to Izzone basketball pregame celebrations. I think that's great. I think the activations outside of Spartan Stadium can really use a revamp. Yes, you get like your football toss games, whatever, but I think that, hey, having like a restaurant tailgate area, if you will, outside the stadium can only help the whole fan experience. They also go on to say secure cashless transactions for swift payments and faster lines. That's right. Let's get everyone moving back to our seats, and then continued opportunities for local community organizations and nonprofit groups to participate on game days. I think that is important too. When I say that the concession lines are slow, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to, say the volunteers, that are volunteering to fund their nonprofit or their Boy Scout troop or whatever it is. It's their fault. No. There's a lot of issues that go into lawn lines, of course, but it is good to see that there is going to be some of that still around here, because I know a lot of groups rely on, hey, working the MSU concessions to fund their own organizations. So it's good to have that last bullet point in there. Make sure this isn't all going, completely corporate and private equity, and there is some semblance of community in here. So that is what I enjoy. Man, tune in for football. Leave hearing myself talk about how fast you can get a hot dog and a beer at Spartan Stadium. That's what we got for you here on Locked on Spartans, guys. We will be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking, well, yeah, you guessed it, Michigan State football. If anything else happens in the world of Michigan State, guys, you know where to find it. Right here, Locked on Spartans, your team of green and white. Until next time, take care of y'all. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. Love you all. Whoa, my God, I am stumbling to the finish line here.